In this lesson, you will create a series of hatch patterns in a mechanical drawing of a Wankel or rotary-type internal combustion engine. Hatches are used to fill closed boundaries with patterns of line work, and this helps to visually differentiate disparate materials or parts. Open the Engine 1 project file, and then click the Hatch tool, which is located right here on the Draw panel. You can create hatch boundaries with two different methods. You can either pick points and let AutoCAD try to determine where the boundaries exist, or you can manually select the boundaries. We'll try both methods. Click Pick Points up here in the Boundaries panel. Position the cursor over different areas of the engine, and you'll see different areas highlight. These are suggested hatch patterns. Zoom in a bit more, and position the cursor carefully between these two green arcs. Notice that it's not finding the boundary right now. That's because everything in the boundary has to be on the screen at the same time in order for this method to work. So I'm going to zoom out and try this again. I'll position the cursor between these two arcs, and it found the boundary. I'll just click to create the hatch object. I want this to be an associative hatch object so that I can come back later and edit it. So make sure this is selected. Then click Close Hatch Creation, and you've created your first hatch pattern. Let's create another one. Click Hatch again, and this time, let's manually select a boundary. Click Select, and then click this red object here, and then click this magenta object here. The hatch pattern is created in between them. We can remove some of these voids in this piece of metal by selecting individual circles as well. Click Close Hatch Creation, and you've created your second pattern. Let's try it again. Press Enter or the spacebar to repeat the hatch command, and then position the cursor right here. Click to create a hatch pattern, but this time let's change the pattern. Click this arrow to open a larger window where you can scroll through the hatch patterns. I'll choose ANSI 37 for a traditional crosshatch pattern, but I don't see it on the screen. That's because it's too small. I need to change the scale over here. Highlight this number and try a bigger number. Let's try 10 and press Tab. I'm starting to see something change here on the screen, but it's still quite small. Let's try 50. Press Tab. There we go, we can see it now. Let's make it a bit smaller. Let's try 35. Enter. That looks better. You can also change the angle of the hatch pattern right here by dragging the slider. Click Close to create your third hatch pattern. Let's create another one in this cyan gear. Press Enter to repeat the command. And then, if I hover the mouse here, it's not understanding that these are two different boundaries. Let's try selecting the objects. I'll select this inner boundary with an enclosing window, and I'll select the outer circle. Now some of the pattern is spilling through. Can you see that? I'll zoom in, and let's see why is that happening. It looks like right up here there's a gap, and this is why the pattern is spilling out of that cyan boundary. So let's close Hatch Creation and undo. We need to solve the boundary issue before we should use the hatch command itself. So let's isolate this cyan layer and work on it. I'll zoom in, and it looks like every gear is missing a little piece. I'll draw a line to connect those two endpoints. And then array that line using the Polar Array tool. I'll select the line, enter, zoom out, and I need to specify the center point of the array. Hold down Shift, right-click, and choose Quadrant. It happens to be right here on the inner edge of this circle. You can count the gears, but I'll save you time and tell you that there are 24 of them, so type 24 and press Tab. I don't want this to be an associative array, I just want to create a number of lines. So I'll leave that unchecked and then click Close Array. Let's zoom in over here and see if it worked. Yes, it appears to be continuous all the way around now. The next thing we need to do is form a closed boundary. Right now these are separate objects. So go to the Modify panel and click its slide out, and you can find the Join command right here. Then create a window around all those gears and press Enter. Now it looks like it joined some of them, but it didn't get them all into one object. Let's try Join again. And this time it worked. Great. Let's exit isolation mode and then use the Hatch tool again. Select the inner and then outer boundaries, and let's change the pattern. Scroll down and choose Dots. You can change the amount of hatch transparency if you'd like, but to preview that on screen you have to turn on the transparency toggle on the status bar. So let's try that again. I can fade it out or fade it in. Let's change the color to white. Now that's a bit too bright. Perhaps I will fade that out a bit. And then I'll click Close. You have created hatch patterns by picking internal points and by selecting boundary edges. You have also joined objects to create a closed boundary and have altered hatch creation properties in selected hatch objects.